Hey everyone, and welcome. If you're an early career researcher, you know the feeling, right? That constant, intense pressure to publish. Well, today, we're going to break down the essentials of publication ethics. Think of this as your clear, practical guide to navigating your academic journey with your integrity and your confidence fully intact.
This quote just hits the nail on the head. The pressure we all face as researchers is very real. It creates this distress where, maybe compromising on ethics starts to seem like an option. Just understanding that this pressure exists is the absolute first step in building up a defense against it.
So here's what we've got on tap. We're going to start with the why, that pressure to publish. Then we'll cover the core rules of the game, take a really deep dive into plagiarism, look at some awesome modern tools, and spot some major red flags. And we'll finish up by talking about the legacy you're actually building with your work.
All right, so let's jump right into that pressure. In the academic world, it really can feel like you're living by this one simple, incredibly stressful rule: publish or perish. So what does that really mean for us?
Whether it's for your PhD, that next promotion, or just your university's ranking, the demand just never lets up. It's relentless. And that kind of environment, unfortunately, is exactly what can make unethical shortcuts look, well, appealing. Recognizing this is so important because scientific integrity is the absolute foundation of all credible research.
So, to navigate all that pressure, we need a solid set of principles to guide us. And that's exactly where publication ethics comes in. It's basically the code of conduct that ensures the entire scholarly process stays trustworthy.
At its heart, publication ethics is really a shared responsibility. It's not just on you, the author. It applies to reviewers, editors, publishers, everyone. It's the whole system of trust that makes science and scholarship actually work. Now this is a list of the biggest don'ts in academic publishing. And we're talking about some serious stuff, like gift authorship, where someone gets their name on a paper for favors, not for actually contributing. Or even worse, data fabrication and falsification. Literally inventing or tweaking your results. These are the kinds of violations that can absolutely end a career. We're going to zoom in on one of the most common ones next.
Plagiarism. It's a word that strikes fear into the heart of every researcher, and honestly, for good reason. But the best way to avoid it is to really, really understand it.
This formal definition is so key. Just notice, it's not only about copying words. Taking someone's ideas, their research process, or their results without giving them proper credit, all of that is plagiarism. It totally undermines the whole idea of building on the work of others.
But here's something really important to remember. Most of the time, this isn't malicious. It happens by accident. Especially when you're deep in a literature review juggling dozens of sources. You might forget where an idea came from, or maybe you don't paraphrase quite right. The good news is, it's a totally preventable mistake.
Okay, this slide illustrates the difference perfectly. On the left, we have something called patch writing. You're just swapping out a few words. This is still plagiarism, guys. But true paraphrasing on the right, that's where you digest the idea and then explain it in your own words with your own sentence structure. Of course, you still have to cite the source. That is the goal when you're synthesizing sources for your literature review.
So how do you stay out of trouble? You have to be systematic. Take meticulous notes. Cite every single idea that isn't originally yours. And keep all your sources organized. Look, these aren't just rules to avoid getting in trouble. These are the essential habits for building a powerful original literature review and becoming a truly credible scholar.
Okay, let's shift gears and talk about solutions. I know, navigating all these rules can feel complex, but luckily for us, we've got some powerful tools that can help us work smarter and with a lot more integrity.
This is so important. Let's get this straight. Using AI assistants or reference managers is not cheating. It's like insisting on doing complex math by hand when you have a calculator right there. These tools handle the boring, repetitive stuff, so you can focus on what really matters, your critical thinking and your analysis.
So if you're going to use AI tools like ChatGPT, think of it as a brainstorming partner, not a ghostwriter. It's great for improving readability or kicking around ideas, but never ever let it write for you. The golden rules are to always verify what it spits out with your own expertise and to be transparent about its use with the journal. At the end of the day, you, the researcher, have to be the one in control.
And now, what about one of the biggest headaches in all of academic writing? Yep, citations. Doing them by hand is slow, it's tedious, and it's so easy to make a mistake.
And that is why reference management software like Zotero or Mendeley is an absolute lifesaver, especially when you're writing a complex literature review. It organizes everything, lets you cite as you write, and formats your whole bibliography in a snap. It saves you tons of time and, most importantly, helps you avoid those citation errors that can actually be seen as a form of plagiarism.
Okay, now that you've got the tools, let's talk about some of the major traps you need to watch out for, both the ones you might accidentally fall into and the ones that are set by others. These right here are some of the most serious offenses you can commit. Fabricating data or falsifying results, that's a cardinal sin in research, especially in fields like accounting or the hard sciences where data is king. And then you have salami slicing. It's when you chop one single study into a bunch of tiny papers just to boost your publication count. These actions don't just hurt you, they undermine the entire scientific record.
And then there are the external threats. Predatory journals. These places exist to take your money, not to publish legitimate science. So be on the lookout for these warning signs. Bad grammar on their website, promises of super fast publication for a fee, or a really vague peer review process. Your hard work deserves a much better, more reputable home.
So let's wrap all this up by focusing on the ultimate goal. Because this isn't just about avoiding getting into trouble. It's about building something meaningful, something that lasts. And here's the big takeaway. Ethical publishing is so much more than just following rules. It's how you build trust. Your colleagues and the world need to be able to trust your data, your analysis, and your conclusions. In research, that trust is, well, it's everything.
It really is that simple. In the academic world, the work you produce is a direct reflection of who you are as a scholar. Your name is attached to it forever.
And that leaves us with this final thought. Everything you publish becomes a permanent brick in this giant wall of human knowledge. So the real question is, how are you going to make sure that the bricks you lay are solid, that they're trustworthy, and that they're built on a foundation of absolute integrity?